on this computer. Okay, cool. So I'm going to recap what I went through last time. If I can see my screen. So for those that may or may have not been there last time. Shoot. Is it? Okay, cool. So I've been reading this book that's really, really good in regards to like the business. So I went over last time, like the first chapter was about the philosophy. So just as a recap on it. So what happens before we make any moves, your philosophy is what changes, or your belief about the business is what creates your attitude, and what your attitude will then create your actions. Okay, so to use it into our business, let's use about the phones, right? If you had a mental barrier or you have a bad belief about the phones, you're not going to want to do it. You're going to have a bad attitude about it, and then your actions are going to affect your attitude, right? So if you feel like you're saying, hey, nobody's going to pick up, dude, before you even made a call, you already have a bad philosophy. No one wants life insurance. These leads are junk. You're going to have a bad philosophy about it. But if you had a good philosophy about like, these people need our help, I just got to talk to the one that's willing to be helped, then you're willing to pick up the phone and make calls. So we got to change our philosophy first on that. Because nothing else, even if you know how to sell, know what to say, know all the rebuttals and the objections, it's not going to do well if you don't have a personal belief of change on it. Okay, so positive philosophies about it. You know, more appointments equals more freedom. Your dialing is a necessity, not a luxury. You book 4, you make 1,000. Okay, instead of having these like poor focus, bad performance on it. So the next page, or the next topic, I ended it with, you know, what's your ritual, your visualization, because creating the positive belief with a long-term plan will let you go through the junk, the crap into the business. Because what you guys believe, our business, it's not really that hard. You know, what are we doing? We're making phone calls. But it's also not that easy because we're getting rejected, right? But it's just all the small things that we got to get ourselves out there, or not be all up in our feels, all up in our emotions that makes us stop working. So I'm going to go over the topic of chapter 3 to 6. But before I do it, later on today, we're going to have our IUL training, our BDM, our business development meeting. I'll be training on the IUL. Albert's going to start with the business development meeting. Most likely we'll have it live, so you will see it. Last time there was an issue with the choppiness of it. But I'll make it quick. I'll make it simple. That's applicable in the business. Nothing too big in jargon and whatnot. But something that you can apply and use to get in front of a client that's going to allow you to sell bigger policies. So yeah, so I've been applying the Slight Edge. So I was telling this to Giselle that's in the office. This book, Slight Edge, it's elongated, it's thick, but it kind of makes sense how he explains it, because it's the basics of the basics. He calls it the Slight Edge, but you could pretty much dumb it down to one sentence. But if you dumb it down in one sentence, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't influence you that much. So he has to explain and expand on it and throw stories out there for you to get the picture, for you to say, okay, I should apply it. All right, so let me use this. Chapter 3. So he talked about a story of a father and gave 2 options to his kids for an inheritance. He said, all right, 2 sons, you have 2 options. You can get the $1 million straight cash right now, or you can take a penny, but the penny will double every day. Okay, so the first son got the million, the second son got the penny. Guess who made more in 30 days? What do you guys think? The penny. The penny became like 10 million in 30 days. The dude with the $1 million, he ended up trying to plan for something. He got a hotel, hired some financial advisors, and within 30 days, he was negative 250,000 and nothing happened yet, because he was thinking about, how can I invest this? How could I do this? So what it really comes down to, when it comes down to our discipline or the Slight Edge, what it's applicable for is that anything that we're doing, our small repeated action, it doesn't make a difference right now. Not much. Okay, so little productive actions repeated constantly over a specific period of time, that adds up to a difference between failure and success. For example, if we're watching a training video, okay, if I saw one training video today, will that make a big difference? But if I had the slight edge of me watching a training video every single day for the next 30 days, I learned a lot in 30 days. Okay, so this is what's applying. So what they applied here in this book, what if you just read 10 pages a day? Okay, so this book is 280 pages. Okay, but sometimes if you start reading, you get the hang of reading, you read a little bit more than 10 pages in a day. It's all about just starting. It's all about that slight edge of starting. So if I started reading 10 pages a day, in 30 days, I finished the book. If I did this every single day, I finished 12 books in a year. Same thing to time. If you're waking up early, if I made a decision to wake up 1 hour early in a day, in 30 days, you're gaining days. They said if you woke up 2 days, 2 hours early every single day for an entire year, you gain an extra month. You gain an extra 30 days. Think about it. 2 hours time is 365 days, and divide that by 30 days. I think I did it wrong. 2 hours time is 365 days. These are the hours divided by 24 hours. Sorry. That's 30 days and 41. You gain an entire month just by waking up 2 hours early. So compounding, simple errors in judgment, though, also compounds over time. So if you're oversleeping, you're starting your dials late, you're quitting early, you're not getting into any training. Yeah, it may not make a difference right now for you, but every single day, every single time you don't buy leads, dude, you're not making sales, things aren't happening. And then now you're just like getting in your own head and it's not working out for you, right? There's a video out there with Kobe, how he talked about his slight edge and an example on having to gain more advantage through other athletes. So he talked about like, dude, if you woke up at 4 a.m., you trained at 5, you worked out for 2 hours, so 5 to 7. You went back home, took a nap, 8, got up again at 9, worked out again from 10 to 11, do the same thing, got back at 1, worked out again from 3 to 5. If you worked out 4 hours, 4 times in a day, compound that in through those years compared to someone that just works out 2 times a day, how much edge would you have compounding? So he kept on talking about that, and that's how crazy Kobe was. There's a lot of stories about Kobe just being in the training before, shoot around, after the game, still shoots around, and then he just got used to it. Now he was crazy though. He didn't sleep. He had like 3 to 4 hours of sleep. You don't have to do a lot of that, but if you start applying a small slight edge into our business, it'll apply and it'll keep compounding for you. Next, the chapter of mastering the mundane. Okay, so they talked in the book, it's simple. They just say that, kind of like what I mentioned here on this call, what do you call it? These little things, they add up, but it's so basic. So he talked about how like only 5%, 1 in 20 will actually achieve this level of success. Only 1 in 20 will follow this. The reason why is because they're easy to do. They're so easy to do, but they're so also easy not to do. You just, who cares? Let me not wake up an hour early. Doesn't matter. Okay. And if the results are invisible, it's not going to affect you tomorrow. It's the same thing when you're eating and you're working out. Who cares if you miss a gym time today? But those daily habits continue to get better and better for you. So it's not going to matter now, but later on it will. So they seem insignificant, You can skip today's training, you can skip Thursdays, but if you don't make that decision, going back with your philosophy and what you're starting, things aren't going to work out. So the story to this with mastering the mundane and going back to my philosophy of removing the emotions, we just got to be able to master the dials, because the repeated calls, whether you're going to get shut down, you're going to get hung up on, you're going to get yelled at, the repeated calls will continually find you a sale. The repeated referrals, if you continue to request it, you continue to ask, let me get some more referrals from you. Let me get some more referrals from you. It won't happen all the time, but it's like planting your seeds. You keep planting your seeds, you keep watering it, things will sprout up. And same thing with mastering the door knocks. You door knock enough, if you've never done it at all, but if you've door knocked enough, you're bound to get in front of somebody and you're bound to get a sale from it. But it's the mundane things, right? It's so simple, we just don't want to do it sometimes. We get over inundated, we get above it, we feel like we're ahead of it, we've done it before. So sometimes, we get in our own heads from that. And the last chapter, nothing too much to expand on, but it's just a bigger story about the expansion of time, to slow down and to get faster. So really at the end of this, on the chapter, he just talks about like having a bigger vision. And this was something good that JP mentioned on his call. When he came in, he gave himself a 5-year vision, right? So sometimes we get into our own head where we want the immediate results, quantum leaps. It doesn't happen right away. You don't have a tipping point immediately, right? So what you got to do is you got to just look at it. If I do this, have the bigger vision of what can happen. How can I see myself in the next 30 days into the next year with these daily disciplines? Okay. It's a natural progression. But what's happening is, back in the days, man, when we didn't have a lot of TV, we had a lot of farmers, people were patient. They planted a seed, they went to go farm, they repeated those same actions, and then they cultivated. But now, because we have our Netflix, we have our Amazon Prime, we want a lot of immediate instant gratification that's not really going to happen specifically in our lifestyle. So last part about that is he just talked about like having a movie. When you watch a movie compared to your life story, you see the beginning, and then the action, the climax, and in the end. And he just talked about how, like, for us, dude, we're not a movie. It's a continuous process in our business. Just understand that if you continue to put in the work, the daily disciplines, over time, things will happen for you. So it's a matter of also looking at it from where, especially starting, we're in November, coming into December, starting the new year. Where do you want to see yourself come next December? What disciplines do you want to create now that'll change you come next year? Does that make sense? So that's pretty much it. It's simple. It wasn't anything new that you guys haven't heard of. This guy was smart because it's just more of all the little things, of all the, I told you, duh, this is what you're supposed to do, but why aren't we doing it? It's all these little things that gets in the way for it. So what I'm applying now, I'm waking up earlier, I'm reading at night for it. Okay, so I'm making the conscious decision about the things in my business that I know if I just put in the work, it'll continue to get better and add up. So anybody want to expand on anything you guys want to discuss? We're open. We got a few minutes before we start our 2 o'clock call. It's open up for discussion. Except I can't see anybody's face, so I feel like I'm talking to myself. So, Sean, now I see your face. There you go. Thank you, buddy. Anything you picked up from it?
I'll be honest, didn't like that book.
You read it?
Yep.
What did you feel about it? What did you like about it?
I felt like he got $14.99 from all of us for fucking writing down basic shit. It's shit right in our face. It's true shit, but that book was a very hard read, and I read probably a chapter or two a day of 2 different books. I've got 17 different books going at the same time.
Yeah.
Not 17, sorry, 7.
Yeah. So
I felt Atomic Habits was a little bit better than The Slight Edge.
Yeah, in the back of my head. So if you guys don't know how publishers work, they make more money the more pages they put out. So the more you can expand on a book, the more they can charge higher on the book. So I tried to prevent myself from like thinking that way. It's like, all right, let me get what I can get out of this. But yeah, like what I mentioned, it's like, dude, it's basic stuff. He's expanding, he's creating more stories to elaborate. But there's some good details to it to allow us to just be upfront with it.
There's some decent real life comparisons in the book. And I feel like you did a good job of summing the book up in 5 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like each chapter could be summed up in like 2 sentences. Seriously.
Yeah, it could have been a 1-page book, probably a 1-paragraph book.
Yeah. And then the part that's a little bit of annoying is like he's trying to coin the slight edge. And so he's coining that as his idea type of stuff. This is the slight edge.
I
This
wouldn't-
part is the slight edge.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's trademarked
right
in the next couple of years.
But overall, you guys got a picture of it, right? So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just, I just wanted to say, if you're not a reader but you're trying to read, Atomic Habits is basically the same book, but it's much easier for people
Yeah.
who are getting into reading to read. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, Atomic Habits is like, all right, just show up, start with that, get some wins, keep it going. But yeah, these books, I mean, like, if you're stuck in your own head and you're always going to be thinking about what you're thinking, reading the book allows you to expand your mind state in a sense. It's like having a conversation and someone else is like, yeah, maybe you should do this. Oh, okay, let's try this out. So that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully it helps. Just think about it and apply it into your business. There's things in our business that sometimes, you know, we cry about, we complain about because it sucks. If you master the mundane, these things will apply and things will compound for us. Sounds good? All right, so I'll see you guys on the next call. I'll be helping with the 2 o'clock. Have a good one.